John, after the San Jose game, you talked about having the shooting mentality, especially in the third period, and how it served you well. Why does that serve you so well when your team has that mentality?
I think it's the league. I think it's hockey. When you have a team in their defensive structure and coverage, they cover pass options. And, if you're looking at a team that plays man-on-man, for an example, they have their man. But when a puck goes to the net, they break coverage when a puck goes to the net because they don't know if they're going to transition out of the zone. So you force the opposition out of coverage and into the five of their guys have to communicate. Are we now exiting? Who's going to get the puck? If you're a winger, you got to get to the wall to be an outlet for your defenseman retrieving a puck. So, shots break coverage. And we have seen since most recently coming back from the break, I think Calgary was out shooting us 26-4. Well, 26 shots is great for Calgary, but 4 was nothing to do with Calgary defending us. It was us deciding not to shoot and wanting to make a pretty or perfect play. And that's it's okay to be confident, but that's a false sense of confidence when you're trying to pass through a team that's already in their coverage, in lieu of taking the opportunity or lane maybe to the net to release a puck. So we have fought that a little bit. We certainly fought that the other night. I think the other night, if you watch that game, we had 5 or 6 shots immediately in the game. We had one of them was a goal post. One of them went in the net from a bad angle that we've been encouraging. And then we all of a sudden, it looked like we felt the game was going to be easy. I think our guys felt, oh, wow, we got one off the goal post and we're only 4 or 5 minutes in. And now we're going to pass our way into the net and make it perfect. And it wasn't until the third period that we realized and were, with some conviction to shoot pucks. And I don't know what our shot total was in the third period, but it was far better, and the results were far better. So, long answer to it, but that's the approach to it. And
like you said, the third period was your team, and we've seen a lot this year. The first 5 minutes was your team, we've seen a lot this year. With all the goals you've scored in a lot of games, all the shots you've taken, is it a surprise sometimes that your group gets away from that shot mentality, or is it just kind of the ups and downs of the seasons? It's just there are certain ruts where it's going to happen.
I think when you have production, you get confident, and there's a false sense of confidence that you can then pass the puck into the net. There's a misconception that you don't realize that seams open up after shots. So the goals that were scored in prior games, there was a process that went on to those goals. Yeah, they turned into a goal that was re-shown on a highlight, but you broke the other team down. You forced the opposition out of coverage. That's when the seam opened up for the pretty goal. If you never open up the seam, you can try that seam all day long. They're in coverage. There is no seam. It's picked off and gone the other way. So you score, and then you get a false read on, we should be able to make the seam pass again this next shift, and or the start of the next game. And so you forget that there's a process to those happening. Not to say a seam wouldn't be open to start a game, but there's a lot more open on we get the advantage of after the fact of rewinding the videotape after a goal, or the video after a goal, I should say, and you see the process of scoring, and you open up pass lanes by virtue a lot of times of shooting a puck or a guy driving through coverage, drawing it away, and then you forget that first part to why those seams open up, and you just start forcing things through seams. And it's the same thing on power plays. It's not what do great power plays do, it's what do power plays do when they're great and they open up seams. And even the best power plays in the league struggle. So when they're bad, that's what they're doing. They're forcing plays. When they're good, they're doing things that open up seams and create second chances. It's just basic concepts of the game and almost laws of the game, if you want to go even further.
Is it sometimes more difficult to convince a younger player? I mean, we know Jack Quinn is a great shot. I think Jack Quinn knows he has a great shot. But as a younger player, sometimes he'll give up the shot and pass it. So is it harder to convince a younger player?
It's harder to convince a guy that hasn't yet learned it. And so, yes, I mean, I think if I look around the guys in the league that are very experienced and willing to shoot pucks, or I should say the guys that are very willing to shoot pucks, with that in mind, it's going to open up the next one. It's guys that are experienced players, by and large. It's go through the veterans in this league. They know that, okay, I don't have a pass option unless I want to go through 3 sticks right now. If I put this to the net, it's going to cause a lot of havoc, and we can get back on top of that. And so, yes, I think it goes hand in hand with experience.
You know, so much is made about Sabres and Leafs. I mean, you haven't seen them a lot. Just what's kind of the dynamic of having a division rival? You just really haven't. I mean, you saw them once, but you haven't seen them here. It's a little different, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know what to make of it. It's just you're so preoccupied with survival day to day and fight day to day with who your next opponent is that we don't have time to reflect on that, to be honest with you. But it is fun to play Toronto. I think lots of teams tell you that. They're only a few miles down the road, and it is a big rivalry because of it. You think of our outdoor game last year. I know, going in that building is a fun place to play. So, to play them is exciting, and I think our guys are very excited to play them.
Tage just told us that it doesn't get in his head anytime when he plays Ryan O'Reilly after they were traded for each other. What does that say about his maturity and his ability to really focus?
Yeah, and I don't think it should get in his head because he's the player that he is, and but I think it was not an easy position for him to be traded in such a huge trade at his age without any or very limited NHL experience and a young guy. I think he's done an amazing, incredible job of fighting through that to, push past so many people that doubted him and so many people that actually, bashed him over the course of a span before he really emerged. And so a credit to him to stay extremely focused. And if you can focus through that, I think he's in a pretty good spot now. And all along it's been easy for him to focus through that from this one singular standpoint is he loves the game of hockey. So he's doing something he loved every day, and that's no different today. He loves the game. He wants to go out there tomorrow and score. I know he's upset because he could have had 3 or 4 goals the other night, and it wouldn't have been a surprise. I think he had 2 goal posts and a couple point-blank shots. He played really well the other night. So I know he's more. That's way more the feeling that I'm sure that's going through his veins right now is the opportunity he left on the table the other night, and tomorrow night's another opportunity to make good on that.
Is Kale okay after leaving practice?
We'll find out, but we'll find out. He's seeing doctors, and the feedback I got was we don't know where it sits yet, so that doesn't mean it's good or bad yet, but we'll find out in a few hours.
Worked out very well for you with Luukkonen. He sat on that game against Calgary for a week before he was able to get back in the net, and it worked great. I mean, he was ready to go. He was ready to go. How do you and Mike Bales decide, you know what, he'll be okay? Even if it's a week, he'll be okay type of thing.
Well, I don't think anybody looked good when we played Calgary coming out of that break. In fact, I'll say everybody looked bad relative to how they play and how they feel when they play. I could tell they felt bad. Then we went into LA. I thought we played much better. If you just even look at early in that game scoring chances, we limited them to scoring chances quite a bit. And then I think the whole group hit their rhythm by Anaheim finally, which is very common. You're 4 or 5 days in now from come back from the break. They finally started looking like themselves. With Upi, I think the same thing. I didn't want to throw him right back in L.A., give him a few more practices, and Comrie has proven very well. We've talked about him as a player and his habits. He's so intense in practices. He's almost too intense that we felt he would be ready to play. If there's anybody on the group, he's probably ready after a 10-day break to perform. And he was. He did really well in Anaheim. He was a little off his center on the first few shots, but by the third period in Anaheim, or halfway through that game, he was good. And when you have three, we wanted to get all three in right away. Now I think we're back into rhythm. Upi was really good the other day and looked much more like himself. So now our decisions will be totally different now that we're 1 week past break and we had 4 games past break now. Now we're kind of back in a rhythm, and our decisions will be completely different and based more on that now.
You always look at the next game with this situation, with playoffs being mentioned. How much do you look ahead at the schedule, seeing how daunting it is coming up?
Well, I guess you could look at the schedule even in August and say that's daunting. You know, I mean, you do. You have 82 games ahead of you and you have 0 points. Now we're at whatever number of points we have, I don't even know, and we're in a race for playoff. That's a pretty damn good spot when I think of how I felt in August. You know, 82, you're at that point, you're 0 and looking at 82 games. So our guys have done a really good job to put us in a position that we should be very excited about. And the moment we look past the next game, like as I've said, this league is just too good. You see, you know, we played San Jose the other night. They've beaten, you know, in the last month they've beaten Dallas and Pittsburgh and a few other high-end teams. So if you take them lightly, you're not going to be successful. And so for us, I don't think there's a reason to get any too far ahead. It's just no good to even. It's a distraction, I guess. But as a coaching, we have to plan. We have to plan the goaltending. We have to plan practices. So we know the one thing for sure, we play better fresh. And so when we look at that schedule, we're thinking more of, okay, what will our practices look like in between games? How will we keep our guys ready physically to perform at a high level through this schedule? We do process that way. But as far as that would be taking care of the daunting side. I think things become daunting as you look ahead if our guys are tired. So I think that's the first thing we want to manage.
Back to the 3-goalie thing. Much has been made of it. Now, whatever, a month, 5 weeks into it, has it, from your perspective, gone about as smoothly as you could have hoped? When you think about, you know, every guy's played, every guy's, you know, done well, and so forth.
Yeah, I'm very happy with everything that surrounds having 3 goalies right now. I think there's a tremendous respect factor, and I think Upi has put us in a position to have 3 goalies because he's played so well that we didn't want to send him back down. And I think the other 2 guys have acknowledged that as well. They know he's done that. They have respect for him doing that, and I think these 3 guys have a respect for the organization. I think that's because of the communication from Kevin from day one, being before they even signed the contract that was offered to him. This is scenario. These are potential things that can happen, and are you okay with it? And you know, here we are, and you know, we're carrying 3. And as I said, we make decisions and moving forward now that it's going to be different as we move forward into a push for a playoff spot. Wins are important. Are the complete importance of everything is winning, and we'll make our decision based on that moving forward.
You've known Austin and Tage, coached them since they were teenagers. They took different paths to where they are right now, but where do you think the similarities of them as, you know, big shooting, goal-scoring centers, where do you think the similarities are?
You could come up with lots of similarities. I mean, obviously the shot, the overall talent, skill, strength, size, reach, competitiveness, love of the game. They both have ability to make plays. You know, and they do those things a little differently. You know, Austin at a very young age was built like a man. He had lots of strength as a teenager. And Tage, you could see he had a frame that was going to fill out more and more day by day, year by year, and that's what's happened with Tage. But as far as, you know, when I had them as teenagers, you could see that you could argue which one's more talented, and you could keep that argument going. Which one was stronger at that time? Austin was. He was physically stronger. He could torque a puck harder at that point and stronger on a stick at that point. But and I think that's where Tage has really, really grown. And obviously he's added some inches now too, which is is pretty impressive. Attributes to add to a player.
Now, when you're a coach and you can put a D-man like Dahlin on the ice for 26 minutes a game, what's the best way to describe the impact that has on your team overall?
Yeah, and we have two guys that we can do that with Owen. That's why it's hard to mention one of them without the other, because they are both amazing players. But it's pretty special when you do have a guy like that, and to have two guys that you can put in situations they can play 25 minutes plus, and both for offensive reasons and defensive reasons. And that's where Dahlin his offensive game has flourished because his defensive game becomes easy. Defense used to stress him out. He used to be worried. He was a guy that cares so much about doing the right things for his teammates and his team that he never had to learn defense until he got to the NHL, and then in the NHL level, he always worried about that. And those were the things he asked you. Sure, he asked you now and then about how to be more productive and what he should do offensively, but the things he took home with him that pained him were making a mistake defensively. And we worked with him a lot on using his hockey IQ to defend beyond our system. We wanted that to kind of fall in the background and bring his hockey IQ to the foreground as far as defending. And he reads and kills plays at a level that's elite right now. And his willingness to defend quick is something that I think, if you really want to appreciate Rasmus Dahlin, and if we're even talking about a Norris Trophy and awards, watch how fast he gets a puck back from another team. And that is elite, because when you think of what everybody's brain goes to Norris, they look at who leads the league in scoring. And Dahls is obviously up there, but you watch how fast he defends. It is impressive. And it gets us, all five of us, on offense quicker. So, yes, to have him on the ice, I love how quick he defends and how fast we get a puck back when he's out there. To me, that's a dream as a coach.
And the power, are you surprised he's been able to do this at this age?
I'm not surprised he's doing. I think we only put guys in age and say, "Oh, I'm surprised he's at that age." If the guy's good, the guy's good. I don't care what age he is, and I think that's our fault for saying a guy can't do that because he's. It's like me walking in and saying, "You can't do this because wait a second, you're 19 years old, so you can't possibly do that." I think that's wrong. I think that's a very closed-minded, and I'm not saying that's not natural for anybody to do that, but I never saw that and thought of him and treated him as a 19-year-old. I've watched this guy play for a long time, from the time he was 14, 15 years old, and he's a very intelligent player. And that intelligence, like I said about Dahlin, he reads plays defensively as well as offensively, and he kills plays fast as well. He uses his attributes, his size and reach. He knows his skill set, and he knows how to imprint that skill set in the game, within a situation, within what's asked of him, within our system. And so he came in as a very highly intelligent kid. He studied the game on his own. He's coachable because he knows how to coach himself. So I am not surprised by what he's done.